came out in Pooh Shiesty's court case. Sadly, we have now lost another rapper to the prison system over crimes they have committed. Here's the length of Shiesty's prison sentence and new information about his case. Let's get straight into it. Now, as reported from the courtroom, rapper Pooh Shiesty is no longer facing life in prison for using a firearm in a robbery in Miami, Florida. Shiesty and his lawyers got a deal made with the courtroom that helps Shiesty avoid a life sentence in prison. The exception is that Pooh Shiesty had to plead guilty to a federal firearm charge in exchange for 8 years in prison rather than going through trial that could last years. Sadly, Pooh Shiesty still has one more case to battle, which I will be sharing later in the video, all of the new exclusive details that came out about it. But while in the courtroom, it gave a detailed description on what happened the day that Pooh Shiesty used a firearm in an armed robbery. It states that Pooh Shiesty went to go meet two individuals inside of a parking lot. Shiesty arrives driving a bright green McLaren sports car as caught on video surveillance. When Shiesty and his boy arrive, they hop out of their cars and met the two men. They were originally supposed to be buying high-end Jordans as well as some narcotics. Now, at the time, Shiesty was wearing his famous mask. It's a mask that covers his entire face, and it made it very hard for law enforcement to figure out who it was before he practically self-snitched. Now, everything was going normal. Shiesty was showing these two men around his McLaren, and until the transaction was about to go down, allegedly Shiesty said, "Nah, I'm good," and pulls out a firearm and uses it towards the two men. Shiesty ended up hitting one in the hip and the other one in the backside. Shiesty quickly grabbed all of the goods, threw it into his McLaren, and started driving away. But while trying to rush, grab the sneakers and everything, trying to make a getaway as fast as possible, a Louis Vuitton bag fell out of his McLaren that was tucked into the side door. Now, in this Louis Vuitton bag was $40,912 all in cash. Now, after the incident went down, Shiesty then headed towards the airport. He rented a private jet and flew right out of there before law enforcement even had the chance of arresting him. The evidence files in this court case were also released, and you need to see this. In this court case, this Instagram photo of Pooh Shiesty is being used against him. In this photo, you see Shiesty standing on a bright green McLaren sports car, as he took this photo the same day he did an armed robbery with it. He then even posted this photo the next day on his Instagram account. The next piece of evidence is a Louis Vuitton bag holding the $40,912 in cash. This is being used against Pooh Shiesty, as after the robbery went down, the Louis Vuitton bag ended up falling out of the McLaren sports car. The feds were able to download several photos of Pooh Shiesty's Instagram, and when he was doing the money stretch across his body type thing, the feds were able to download these photos, zoom in on the cash, and the serial number on one of the bills on his Instagram account matched with one of the bills that was inside of the Louis Vuitton bag. This proves that it was Pooh Shiesty who robbed these men and used a firearm towards him. And this was all without even mentioning Pooh Shiesty did an armed robbery in a bright green McLaren sports car with a police station right beside the parking lot. This entire street was filled with video surveillance tracking every single move he made during and after the robbery. Now, Pooh Shiesty is a very lucky man in this case, with only getting 8 years in prison, as when you take a look at the Florida 10-20 life rule, it states that you'll be put into prison for 10 years if you pull out a firearm without a license, 20 years in prison if you pull out that firearm and you use it without defending yourself but no one in the end was affected. Then you'll be sentenced to 25 years to life in prison if you pull out the firearm and you use it towards someone and that person is then affected by it, which in this case, 2 people were affected by Pooh Shiesty using a firearm in an armed robbery. His lawyers got him out of a life sentence. But sadly, this isn't the only case that Shiesty will be facing. In the second court case, it states that while at the King of Diamonds club, Memphis rapper Pooh Shiesty was performing for a crowd. During his performance, Pooh Shiesty was seen having $40,000 cash sitting in his skinny jeans pocket. According to the official arrest warrant from the courtroom, Pooh Shiesty was performing at this club. Someone in the crowd knocked the stack of cash out of his back pocket. The crowd ended up taking the $40,000 cash as it all fell onto the club floor. all of the people that grabbed the money directly sprinted out of the club. Pooh Shiesty then stormed out of the club after the individuals, and while exiting the club, somebody from the back that was recording the concert was able to catch Pooh Shiesty pulling a firearm out of his waistband. A few moments then go by, and all you hear outside of the club is a firearm being used. Witnesses at the scene claim that Pooh Shiesty was very angry, he was yelling at people in the area, and then ended up using a firearm towards the security guard who works at the club. After it was all said and done, Shiesty then ditched the firearm to one of his boys. That individual was then never seen again. Now, a massive update actually came out in this court case, and the security guard no longer wants to press charges against the Memphis rapper. The security guard takes back all statements that he gave law enforcement at the scene. He claims that he no longer remembers if he saw Shiesty aim and use a firearm towards him. This is due to the paramedics that arrived to the scene giving him a medicine to help deal with the pain that he was going through. He claims that this medicine ended up giving him memory loss, and now he no longer remembers a thing. This now makes him no longer want to press charges, as he claims if he can't remember what happened, he doesn't want somebody to go face life in prison, as he doesn't know if Shiesty is the one who did it. At Pooh Shiesty's next bail hearing, this information will become present to the judge of his court case. But even though the guy doesn't want to press charges anymore on Shiesty, there are witnesses at the scene. There is even allegedly video evidence as well, which obviously in the state of court, you cannot beat that. It doesn't matter who you are or what lawyers you have, if there's video evidence with witnesses, you're not getting out of the case. And just because the security guard no longer wants to press charges on him anymore, the judge is still going to be sentencing Pooh Shiesty to some time in prison, as you can't just get away with that. You have to face the consequences for your actions, and with the video surveillance, it's almost just set and done. With Pooh Shiesty getting 8 years for his first court case of an armed robbery against 2 individuals, it's safe to say that in this second case, with witnesses, he will most likely be getting another 8 to 10 years. Luckily, all 3 individuals who Shiesty used a firearm against are okay. Nothing severe happened to these guys, so there is a good chance Pooh Shiesty will get released from prison. It's just going to be in a few decades. Pooh Shiesty has to be one of the unluckiest rappers that I have ever seen. If you do agree with me as well, leave a quick like on the video. Don't forget to subscribe.